So it is true that a lot of capitalists are against capitalism, and Warren Buffett is a prime example. But even Bill Gates and certainly George Soros, who spends a lot of time and money and effort in fighting capitalism. So I think fundamentally it's philosophy. It's not that these people don't understand markets or don't understand how capitalism works. I mean, there's an element of that. But much more fundamentally, it is a philosophical issue. And it's interesting because I believe that the most philosophical businessmen today, prominent businessmen, are George Soros and Warren Buffett. George Soros would identify himself as a Popperian, right? I mean, he's got a clear philosophy. He's got a clear philosopher he follows. He's got a clear ideology. And Warren Buffett, if you clearly listen to what he says, is a Rawlsian. He almost cites Rawls verbatim. So I think philosophy, these are people who have been corrupted by bad philosophy. Now, that philosophy has not affected their ability to do great things in business. So they have the ability, I think because they're extraordinarily smart, that they probably have very high IQs, and they have this ability to compartmentalize. They have the ability to say, okay, in business, I'm just going to use my smarts to do business. And then they get caught up in a way that's very detached from reality in a particular philosophy, and they take it seriously, and then they advocate. I think psychologically, many of these businessmen are motivated by guilt, and this is by altruism. We're all raised with this notion that you shouldn't be self-interested, you shouldn't pursue your own well-being ahead of other people's, that the essence of morality is sacrifice, the essence of morality is selflessness. And clearly these people understand that in their business pursuits, they're being selfish. They're pursuing their own self-interest. They're making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money by pursuing their values and by using their minds. They don't work on consensus. They're not being selfless. They're being selfish. But that's a problem. So how do they deal with the fact that in their business life they're being selfish? By advocating for the opposite of that, by kind of fighting against that. And I think that's a way for them to relieve the guilt, to get rid of the burden that's being placed on them by their selfish, if you will, selfish actions. And then they find a philosophy that helps them do that. And Warren Buffett is a good case. So Warren Buffett believes that he's been successful because he's lucky. So it has nothing to do with his choice to pursue his own well-being. It's got to do with, he says he's lucky because he was born in the century that he was. He's lucky because he was born to the parents he was born to, and he's lucky because he has the genes that he has. And he really gives no credit to his own choices and all his actions. That's a great way to shrug off, if you will, your own selfishness. Well, maybe I'm selfish, but it wasn't me. It was my genes. So, again, it's a way of getting rid of that guilt. But he feels obligated to then pursue that all the way. And if he's lucky, then the money's not really his, and it's okay for the government to tax it. And you got to maximize social well-being. You got to be some form of Rawlsian egalitarianism or utilitarianism, and therefore he's okay with higher taxes, and he really believes in more regulations. And when he sees selfishness in other people in the business world, like in Wall Street, then they're bad guys. Even though if he was consistent, he'd say, well, they're just driven by their genes. So it's philosophy, it's altruism, and it's interesting that the most active businessmen on the left are also the most philosophical. They're most philosophically against. And, George Soros has his own form of collectivism and altruism couched in the civil society, Popperian skepticism that he has. And, that is, if you read him, again, he's quite philosophical in his direction. He's full of flaws and all wrong, but very ideological. Altruism, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about reason and altruism, and both Buffett and George Soros take an anti-reason, pro-altruism view of the world.